I say it on this podcast, in the mornings until 11, it's all free. And I had that. But then literally what I realized when I looked at my calendar, it was back to back all the way to the evening, and it just hit that overwhelming level. So just creating more spaces in my calendar. I put fake meetings in. Like, sorry if everyone sees my calendar, but there are some fake meetings in there, just some blanks.
That's actually really useful.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people have access to my calendar as well. They're like, oh, I just booked myself into the slot. And you're like...
Welcome to Happy Millionaire,
a show about how to make profit with a positive impact.
And stay happy along the way.
I had an annoying scenario the other day where I forgot my AirPods when I went to the gym. Have you had that? Do you listen?
Yes.
Do you use your AirPods?
No, I listen to music, or I listen to Audible normally in the gym. So I listen to a book.
I love it. It's my favorite thing to do. I usually get like a bit of a dopamine hit whenever I'm in the gym and I'm listening to something, whether it's Audible, whether it's like a podcast I'm into, all that kind of stuff. Really does help. And it reminded me of something that I talked about on my podcast recently, which is scheduling time for boredom. And so I thought to myself, okay, instead of like being annoyed at the fact that I'm not going to have to get to listen to the book that I'm into, I'm listening to Product-Led Growth. Have you read that?
Yes.
It's awesome. I thought, okay, this is my scheduled time for boredom. And I had a conversation with Stephen McGregor on my podcast. He's like a happiness consultant for a number of big companies like Telefonica and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, we need to schedule time for boredom because it's the antidote to our hyper-connected world where we're always looking at a screen or listening to something. And I reflected when I was in the gym in my boredom zone that it's very uncommon for me to not be sat in front of some screen or having some sort of interaction with a digital device or consuming some information. And in that sort of moment where I was like doing my gym activity and all the rest of it, I just allowed myself to sit with my thoughts. And honestly, I'm going to do this a lot more often now. I'm actually going to have at least once a week where I don't have my AirPods in and I'm not consuming anything and I'm doing something mindlessly, because that boredom actually allowed me to piece through a whole bunch of things with the company and everything that I'm building as well. And I'd had quite a stimulating couple of weeks, obviously, with the wedding and like constantly chatting to people and all that kind of stuff. And actually, dude, it was like a bit of a breakthrough for me in terms of finding a meditative practice that isn't literally meditation.
Essentially, when you don't have any stimulation, right, you are in a meditative state. Your thinking brain's now on, right? And what will happen is suddenly all of these different thoughts will come. It's like ping, 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 all these different thoughts come. And actually what you'll find is there's a repetitive pattern. This is what you notice in meditation as well. It's like the same thoughts keep on appearing, and actually the strongest thought starts coming. So I'm curious to know, do you remember what thoughts, because these thoughts come up and it might be about business or your relationship or friendships, whatever it might be. So was there a pattern?
There was definitely a pattern. It's really weird because the last chat we had with Poppy was all about ego and values kept on coming up for me a lot. And one of the things, maybe it's a product of my recent experience, but the one thing I realize I value the most is having all those people around me, having all those connections, having those friendships and people willing to like travel. I mean, half of Australia was there, man. Like the people literally traveled for tens of hours to get there. Like Drew came from California, a whole bunch of my mates from New York and Chicago and all the rest of it. That for me was like a real big sort of realization about what I value and what I want to bring into the rest of this year and going into next year, as well as going forward as well. And also it kind of sparked off some other ideas about like what I've been seeing a pattern of. So there's an Australian company, I think it's called Unyoked. But there's a whole bunch of other sort of similar companies in the UK now where they are basically doing singular retreats where you literally unplug. I think it might even be called Unplugged Retreats.
Okay.
Have you seen these?
No, but I can see those like silence retreats.
Yeah. So silent retreats is almost like the extreme version. I know a few people have done that. So they go and they take themselves off for like a week at a time. And a silent retreat is next level. You can't consume any information. You can't speak to anyone. You can't communicate even like, with like, you can't give a little eyebrow shuffle or anything like that. You literally just look down and you're in your thoughts and you walk and that's it. I've never actually been on one. I've just heard of these. A less extreme version of that is taking yourself out to, I don't know, Norfolk or like, some cabin in the woods that's unconnected, and you can choose to have your Wi-Fi on and off or whatever. And you just sit there and you read, or you go for a walk or whatever. You're just on your own. I think that's going to be really, really important as part of a mental health care package. And I've even thought about doing that for myself.
Yeah.
And that one experience of me forgetting my AirPods was actually, I think it was serendipitous, because it was like, I actually need to unplug a bit and do this as a regular practice, because it's super helpful, particularly for someone who is constantly on social media, consuming as well as producing content and building companies on the side.
Yeah. That's the whole paradox of life. It's like, everyone wants stimulation, but at the same time, they all want stillness. And how do you balance the two? And it feels like that experience of you leaving your AirPods gave you that sight of stillness when it was desperately needed. I don't get that excited to do it, I'm going to be absolutely honest. But I know deep down if I do it, it's good for me. But there is still this, from that moment of making that decision and then doing it, that space, it's always sometimes a bit uncomfortable, that space.
It's weird that you said it, because I would have thought that you're the kind of person that enjoys meditation. You're like, yes, I get to meditate. but it's weird, because I am that person. I like when I get up in the morning, I go to the bathroom, have my water, take my supplements, and then I sit down and meditate. And I actually enjoy that. The reason why is because if I was to start like doing my stretches or exercising straight after doing all that other stuff, I'm still kind of groggy from waking up. And when I meditate, after I meditate, whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I feel so much better. And so I actually kind of look forward to the meditation. But it's interesting.
So I think it's something. So I enjoy like the journaling. There's certain things I like.
Oh, okay.
But
the journaling bit.
Like my yoga, sometimes I'm up for it, sometimes I'm not. So it's just, I think it varies. And look at, all these different things we're discussing. These are just the ones that work for me. These are the ones that work for you. Like if you like walking, then that's cool. Like whatever your method is to have stillness, i.e. time with you and yourself, is great. But I just feel, sometimes I want to do it, sometimes I don't.
I'm going to do this unplugged retreat or unyoked or whatever the name is in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
I'll let you know how I get on.
Well, let me know which one you do. I'll be there so I can distract you.
Like Bill Gates does reading weeks. Do you ever do that?
No, I just like reading days. There'll be certain days where I just take it off and I will just do reading or have some time to myself. So my hack is I normally take the mornings, so I don't have any meetings before 11 o'clock, and I normally have 2 hours to myself, and in that period of time I will just do me things.
I should probably start doing that, because I do take meetings in the morning, and I feel that if I see that in my schedule, it kind of drains me. I'm like
100%. And also once you start, you can't stop. So this is the moment. Once your day starts, like I know this, that's it, you're on it. 100%. The dopamine hit's been a hit. You're like, you're waiting for that next stimulation. Who should I ping? Who should I Slack? Who should I email? And it's just on. So I really, really make sure, and I know meetings are usually the start of it. Because it's a meeting is a full experience, right? You're listening, you're seeing someone, whether it's even online. So that normally gets me going. So I don't mind sending a few emails in the morning, that's fine. But once I do a meeting, I feel like that's game on button, and I'm like, wow.
That's a really good point. Yeah, because I do open my laptop early before I go to work out, but that will be literally like, okay, quick scan of the diary, plan what I'm doing, anything that requires the cognitive side of my brain, I try and do first thing in the morning before I'm disturbed by anything. Then I go and exercise, and then the day starts after breakfast for me. And there's actually research around that as well. It's like you have this bundle of energy in the morning, and the longer you leave it, the more it decays over the day. So you want to try and do as much of the creative stuff in the morning, because that's where you've got the biggest bundle of energy, because ultimately that's just going to decay more hours in the day.
Wow, seems like I'm doing that, luckily. So yeah. It's worked out all right.
It's good.
You got any other topics?
So I watched this thing on Netflix the other day called it's called Get Smart with Money. Have you come across it?
Which one is that one?
So it's a documentary. I don't think it's a very well made documentary.
Is that the one about GameStop?
No.
Okay.
I want to watch that one though.
Yeah,
that's a 3-part episode. I have to gear myself up for that, because I judge things on Netflix as to whether I want to invest in them, invest the time in them by the number of episodes.
Okay.
And how long each episode is, right? So I've got
like an ROI.
I've got a bit of I wouldn't say an addictive personality, but if I start something, I have to finish it. So Get Smart with Money is a really interesting documentary. There's 4 people that they look at. These people are assigned like a money manager. It's basically like a financial manager. And they basically show them how to save more, and spend less, but while still having sort of enjoyment of like, you know, the day to day, like spending time with your kids, going on holiday, all that kind of stuff. One of the things that stood out for me in this documentary is this line that says, it's a mindset that breeds a lifestyle. And the thing that really spoke to me about this was, it's the same thing I do with healthy eating. It's the same thing I do with exercise. It's the same thing I do with meditation. So the mindset that I have for healthy eating is, I eat healthily. So when we went to the corner store just literally just before this podcast, and I'm looking at all the different options. There's sandwiches that I want because I'm super hungry. There's like, you know, chocolate bars. In my mind, I am a healthy eater, right? I prioritize making sure that I'm fueling my body with the right stuff. And so what do I find? I find a small part of the refrigerator that's got some lentils and some beans. Like the part of the refrigerator that is like completely fully stocked because no one's eating that. And then I find some nuts that are just like lightly salted and some water.
Yeah.
And when it comes to like getting smart with money, I don't identify with someone who saves well. I don't identify with someone who is looking to retire early and financially independent. But I need to start building that sort of mindset if I want to achieve that. And that documentary actually made me realize I do want to, like, you know, retire early and have the option of working until my 90s, because I'm never going to stop working, but I definitely want to be financially independent.
I do spend, but I do save. I feel like I have got a good relationship with money, and that's because I probably did prioritize it. Like I think my parents have given me that insight and I guess wisdom quite early, because you know they came as refugees, so they had to learn that relationship with money and had to save it. So I feel that's been like a bit of a priority for me, or like quite an important value or part of me. Whereas for you, probably it seems like the healthy side. I know you went through a lot on your healthy journey. You mentioned it on the podcast, and that became a priority. So
yeah,
I think it's good you've seen that show. Now it's, you know, I feel in the game of money now, it's now gone up, right? We talked about it before, it's like there's different games, and I feel now this game of the relationship with money is gonna, hopefully you're going to learn stuff from that show.
Yeah.
And now it's become a priority. You're going to ask people like me or other people that are around you have maybe have a relationship that you'd like to have with money, and it will start evolving and changing.
You have to decide what's important to you. And I think I'm able to delay gratification on certain aspects of living to ensure that I can have certain moments like a wedding or, you know, when I've got a kid or when we're doing certain other elements in our life, that I've got the sort of reserves to invest in those. So it's a kind of a blend of delayed gratification as well as like splurging for moments that are important to you.
Yeah. For me, I did actually create like a system. So it sounds quite like I did have a system on how I want to spend my money, how I was going to save money, and also how I view money. So I actually went on a course, funny enough. I went on a course which was just about money.
When was this?
And this was like when I was young, like 24, 25. And it's all about really working out your like things that have happened to you in your life relate to money, and it forced you to it was quite deep work that I had to do. So, you know, remember moments in which, you know, I struggled with money, times when money was exciting to me, and in the end what then happens is you had a bunch of affirmations or values which I said to myself for about a year, and that actually helped me quite a lot. So, you know, things like money is a flow of energy. The more money I invest, I can also make more money, or things like money will come and go in my life and that's okay. So like I had a bunch of these different affirmations that I did actually save for about a year.
That's sick.
And that really did improve my relationship with money, and it also made me believe I can get money. And then also, you know, then it comes to the moment of saving, spending. I was quite geeky, but I did like keep like a spreadsheet, and I knew like how much I was spending, and I knew how much I want to save. And the one thing that I did was initially, which wasn't healthy, was I stuck by these rules. And that wasn't good. That was quite I was quite confined. I felt a bit rigid in life. And then I realized, okay, as long as I'm within 25%, 30% of like the deviation of like being in those thresholds, and it's okay. And then that made me feel a lot more relaxed. Obviously, as time's gone on and I've been more fortunate with money, now I can probably expand that way into 50 or 60%, right? But that was my system. So, you know, if anyone that is struggling in this area, I would actually think of certain affirmations. There's so many great books out there that talk about this. So the guy's course I went on was a guy called Harv Eker, and he specializes on this. It's like wealth creation, it's called Millionaire Mind. It just teaches you a good relationship with money, and then system of like saving and your spending. I feel like it's just quite simple. Get a spreadsheet out. It's not a fun exercise initially, but just start, documenting where you're spending, where you would like to go.
There's a saying in medicine, what gets measured gets managed.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're not measuring your expenditures and your versus your income and all the rest of it, you don't have eyes over it. You're not going to be able to manage it appropriately. And I think that's fundamentally what these guys in this program did as well. Each of the money managers basically just create them a spreadsheet, very simple to do.
Yeah.
They said, these are your incomes, these are your expenditures, separate them out, see where you can save, and just do that every month. I was going to ask you actually, what are your affirmations now? Like, do you still do this exercise?
Not as much. What you find is that over time, whatever your special superpower is, in my case, well, not superpower, but like my relationship with money, I knew it was in a healthy place. I have to also be quite careful because there's certain people, my dad won't mind me saying it, he's still very much about saving. So if he sees that I'm spending a lot of money, he'll come after me and go, what are you doing there? And I'm just like, well, my life's different now. I'm in a good place. So, but he's still got that original mindset of saving. And I respect it, right?
Do.
Yeah.
A lot of immigrants
so I feel that I've got my own like protection area, and so I don't really, those affirmations are now embedded in me. So I don't have to work on it. It's a bit like for you on healthy eating, right? Like you don't need to go, hey, this is you don't have to say this is unhealthy, this is right and wrong. You already know. All the games of life, like whether again, I always talk about this, but like career or being happy or making money or relationships, friendships, like, all of those quadrants, they've all got their own systems and mindsets, but you have to invest the time in it, right? Some people probably listen to this go, oh my God, I have to create another system and I've got to have this relationship for money. And I get it, but you don't have to play this game. But if this game is important to you, which I think is important, like your relationship with money, because it's going to be, your relationship with money will always be there till the day you die at some point, because even the money you've accumulated, you now need to give it to somewhere else, right? So, it is worth investing that time, like reading a book or two or speaking to some experts, and, because I feel everyone has got some work to do on money. Even for me right now, now that I've sold some of my companies, or I'm aware, like I now have to upgrade my systems as well. It's like, okay, now I've got, I've got extra money now, what am I going to do with it? And hence I'm going to now invest it in startups in these areas. So you have to keep on upgrading it. It's like I needed to have another system, but it's a beautiful game. I think it's a beautiful game.
And I think financial wellness is something that a lot of people don't really talk about, like what I'm planning on doing over the next couple of weeks. I think I was talking about this off pod, is coming up with meal plans that demonstrate that you can eat healthily, have your diversity of ingredients, have 30 different types every week, the right number of plant points, the right amount of protein, plant focus, yada, 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 on a budget, like a serious budget every single week.
You're trying to do it for like £25 a week or something, right? That'd be amazing.
Like 25. I reckon it's possible, I definitely think it's
crack
possible.
That'd be huge.
100%. I think, and it's there to be cracked, and it's just, people don't have the culinary creativity or the knowledge skill set to look for those things in the supermarket. And people get distracted as well. Like, I know this as well because I'm pretty frivolous in the grocery aisle. Like, I'll just buy everything, right? I don't mind that. Like, that for me, one of my sort of money rules, Ramit Sethi talks about money rules in his book. One of my money rules is, I'm allowed to splurge as much as I like in the supermarket. If I want to try something that's like healthy or new or whatever, it's part of my business as well. I'm allowed to do that. Or, if I want to read a book, I don't think about the cost of said book. I just buy the book, wherever World of Books or whatever. And I think people have to sort of like figure out where their money rules are.
So I want to talk about a subject called breathing room, right? Breathing room.
Okay.
So it's a new concept to me. So essentially, and it feels like we're going to some hospital room right now. Technically, what's a bit like that?
Is it breath?
No. So I feel like right now in society, and I think a lot of people can relate to this, it's quite overwhelming. There's so many things going on, right? And for me personally, I'm happy to be open about some of the things that are going on. I'm heavily involved in 4 or 5 companies, and like 2 are fundraising. 1 is in a process, or like a sale process. I also, this podcast is now live, and it's the first time where I was having to do podcast marketing and being on social media. I had 3 back-to-back trips of Lisbon, San Fran, and also your wedding in Sicily. And
Sorry about that.
And no, and I had a lot of other personal stuff that was coming up. So I had all of this going on, and things were happening that were unexpected. So one of the companies that's supposed to raise money, there were suddenly big delays, and this is really risky, because if there's delays in a fundraise, that means the deal could go off, and suddenly, if you don't raise money, that means you need to start cutting the team down, trying to get to profitability. Otherwise, that company's not going to survive, right? So you got people's well-being at risk.
Yeah.
I also had a jet lag, so I just got back from San Fran, and by the way, going from West Coast to London is the worst jet lag in the world. So I had all of these things like brewing up, and honestly, I felt overwhelmed. And unfortunately, that week I had a session with my life coach, and I told him, I said, look, this is what's going on. And he's like, oh, that's quite a lot going on. I said, yeah, it is quite a lot, but I can usually handle it. But, I could see at that point I had tipped over. It's like, that cartoon when like someone's holding all those plates, like literally they were about to fall. And he's like, look, I know what's happened. I said, oh, what's up? He's like, you've not left any breathing room. I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, the best way to be operating is where you are 80% capacity and you've left 20% just in case for the unknown. And it seems so obvious, but in the world we're living right now, we're taught to maximize and try to grab everything. And I didn't leave any breathing room. I don't know if you've felt that overwhelming, but the breathing room. Do you leave any breathing room?
No, it's funny because I've never thought about that 8 parts out of 10 from the perspective of like your work-life balance, but it makes a lot of sense. You need to have that small amount of reserve energy, sort of like a just in case. You're right in terms of like, the amount of energy that we're putting into everything, whether it be podcasting, businesses, all that kind of stuff, it's 110%, let alone 100%, right? And it's funny you said that about like 20%, because I don't know if you've seen it, I did a TikTok where I talked about how you're meant to eat to 8 parts full.
Wow.
You have to eat to, it's like an old Chinese proverb. It's like, you always make sure that you eat to 8 parts full, because your stomach signals to your brain slightly delayed. So by the time you're registered that you're 100% full, it's too late. You've overeaten, right? And it happened. I mean, think about it. Like, when you see a nice plate of food, you just want to like chow down on the whole thing, and then suddenly you're like full, and then you're like, oh, I'm over full. So you need to have that sort of spare capacity, and that's really interesting. So how are you putting in that 20% reserve capacity? Because I don't know whether I've got 20%.
Yeah, I just had to say no a lot more. So that was something I did. I always do leave like the mornings, like I say it on this podcast, the mornings until 11, it's all free, and I had that. But still, what happened was that I had that freedom until 11 a.m. But then literally what I realized when I looked at my calendar, it was back to back all the way to the evening, and it just hit that overwhelming level. So anyway, saying no to things, just creating more spaces in my calendar. I put fake meetings in. Like, sorry if everyone sees my calendar, but there are some fake meetings in there, just some blanks. And at the same time,
that's actually really usul.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people have access to my calendar as well. They're like, oh, I just booked myself into the slot, and you're like,
So I leave loads of blank slots. The reason why I'm going to share this is because, look, try to leave that 20% energy, because I wish I'd learned that lesson, that breathing room.
That's super important, man. What do you make of 4-day work weeks? Because the World Economic Forum
actually does go back to 8%, right?
It does, yeah. Literally, when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, 4-day work week. It's literally 80% of our current work week right now. We haven't instigated that yet as a company, but I've got 2 less than full-time employees, so they're on like 3.5 days each, right? Already they're operating pretty well. I probably need one of them to step up to 4 days, but I can't afford that right now. But I definitely want to go down to 4 days at some point in the future. I'm not allowing myself to. I probably could. I'm probably giving myself excuses, but I'm not allowing myself to out of fear right now. But I firmly believe, taking myself out of the situation, a 4-day work week is what we need to strive for globally.
I think if a company's large and it's got all the processes and the right people, I think you can easily do 4 days. I think if you're an early stage business, like if you're starting up, like you need to really, I believe, hustle and graft. You will. So I feel there's a time when everything's in structure, you can do it. It's so funny. I was some friend told me a story of this really successful person. He's created many companies. Someone that I've looked up to. And he's hardcore, like this guy is intense. And supposedly he's like, there's a team of like, he's got a new startup, only 30 people. And on a Saturday he's working like really, really like at full pelt, and
Yeah.
he's messaged the whole company going, hey guys, you guys aren't working hard enough. I can tell we all need to work at least 20% harder. And if you don't up it, you might as well just leave because this place ain't right for you. So like, you know, so you got one extreme of that.
Yeah.
And the truth is, like, business is really competitive. So if you're competing against that squad, like, yes, will they burn out? Potentially, yes. Is he going to potentially go through his team many times? Yes. But is he going to be successful? Yes. But is he going to be happy? No. But, you know, at the end of the day, like, that is who you're also competing with. People like that person.
Yeah.
And he's IPO'd like 3-4 companies. Like, this guy is a machine, right? But this is how hardcore he goes. So if you're competing against him, you're in trouble, right? He's going all in. So there is this balance. I think each person needs to find their own balance. I don't know what their answer
to counter a couple of examples. So there's a company called Examine.com. They operate on a 4-day work week. And I read this blog. It details like the decision that they made to go down to 4 days a week. And amazing company, doing really well, maybe raising at some point in the future. That's one example. The other famous one is Silicon Valley's Basecamp.
Yeah.
So they're 4 days a week. And they were relatively small when they started that as well. And they're a bit of an unusual company as well, because I think they're bootstrapped.
Yeah, bootstrapped, and it's all remote.
All remote, yeah. So like there are examples of companies that are really effective in the marketplace. I think the differentiating factor is that the values are very much aligned with the people working in those companies. So if you attract people who want to work 120%, work on Saturdays and Sundays, then that's the team that you're going to build around you, right? But I think it is possible to do it in a different way, or at least I hope so.
I think let's see. I think there'll be more case studies coming out. I feel a lot of the lifestyle businesses are definitely 4 days. You know, from the venture back side, which is what I see data on, like it's not as common yet. I think once they get to a decent scale, you can do it. But yeah, let's see. I think we're still in the first innings of this whole 4 days. Let's see how it all pans out.
Yeah, I get the perspective of venture back companies, because if I'm the sort of the paycheck holder and I see you're taking off Friday, you're like, well, you're on the phone,
giving you
like,
millions of dollars
doing?
and you're like, got a day off. Yeah. All right, should we bring on our friend Amit?
What's the marks, Amit?
I actually think you're just a natural now, actually. I think we are. We're in the post-mark
You're above
era.
the marks.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the first topic was boredom time. And the line that you said is the antidote to the hyperconnected world. And I've been thinking a lot about this recently as well, because you know, whenever we pick up a podcast or we listen to an audiobook, we like the assumption is there's something out there that I need to learn. So the mode is like self-improvement and striving. And we never really look for like self-knowledge and appreciation. And it would be like if you're building an app that you just keep building new features, like say if you're building the Doctor's Kitchen app, but I'm like, instead, if you really focus on what you already have, that would make like a massive difference. So, and that really is like every spiritual journey is self-knowledge rather than continual improvement. Does it make sense?
Yeah, that does. Yeah, because what you're trying to say is that we're constantly trying to extract from our exterior knowledge or whatever it is that we perceive to be more valuable than actually what's within.
We don't trust ourselves enough, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
So putting your trust in yourself. That's epic.
Yeah. The second topic was getting smart with money, and then it's a mindset which breeds the lifestyle. So do I look like a dweeb with this notebook? You guys are doing it.
You do you, man.
All right, yeah. With the lifestyle, sometimes where, I don't know, maybe someone's thinking about just the result, but they haven't thought about what's the mindset. And different people are at different levels. And obviously people start with like a different upbringing, but there'll be people, for example, racking up credit card debt after credit card debt, which is probably what no one like in this room would do, but there's like skills and knowledge. So just to be aware that stuff is out there.
You're going to keep on learning new things, and I think, you know, for the money game and what you're describing is like, you're going to try out, hopefully you have a good system. So that my best thing that I learned was getting the right system. So I went on those books, I read those books, or go on those courses, learn the system, and then you have to then throw it out there and see if it works, adjust, throw it out there, adjust, and eventually it keeps on improving. A bit like, you know, what you discussed about being healthy, right? There's certain things that you think are true, but then you got to figure out what's right for you, and you got to play. It is another game, right?
Honestly, I feel like if you're going upstream even further, it always starts with mindset. So first of all, you have to convince yourself that, okay, this is what I value and this is what I aspire to be. And then to help you along that journey, you have frameworks. Frameworks can only work for so long. That stuff might be able to help you in the short term. And a lot of people who are like looking to eat well might go on a diet plan because they need some structure. But the willpower only work for so long. It has to be your mindset. You have to really believe that you can aspire to whatever the goal is. And so whether that's money, whether it's meditation, whether it's healthy eating, exercise, whatever it is, you've got to start with mindset.
When you say mindset, is that like a framework or what?
It's a belief.
It's a belief.
It's purely a belief. It's just like I am or I'm not. So I am a healthy eater, I'm not. And that allows me flexibility because it means that, okay, I'm a healthy eater, but I can still splurge. And when I'm in Sicily, I can still have pasta and all that kind of stuff because I know in my heart of hearts that my default mode is going to be healthy eating.
Yeah,
which is very unusual for a lot of people. I agree.
Yeah, because I even like, where does that belief come from? Because everyone wants to eat healthier. So how? Because I like in the first year that we met, you weren't a particularly healthy eater. So where did that?
Actually, I heard
I wouldn't say I was eating like fried chicken every single day, and I wasn't like someone who goes to McDonald's every day. But I definitely didn't have that belief that I'm a healthy eater, and it was just purely a belief thing. It's like, okay, I eat well. Like this is me. This is my identity. I'm the kind of person that eats well every day, and that's it. And that shift in mindset allows everything else to click into place.
And then another bit that we said on that topic, which I really liked, is money is a flow of energy. I thought that was like a really super line, but because actually on your wedding there was a guy that I met on the stag and at the wedding, Tyler, and
he likes to spend.
Yeah, I don't think he's like he's super generous as well. Like he loves to tip as well.
His energy in general is like super high level as well. Like that's why people who meet Tyler don't just like him, they love Tyler. Because his energy is literally like, you are the most important person in the room. Like you know, the way he talks to you is like he's literally just focused on you. And I think he's the same with like tipping and money in general. He's like, it's just a flow of energy. I'm going to give energy. I'm going to give energy because he knows he's going to get it back from the universe. Maybe not consciously, but like, you know, it just happens for him. He's just
And then the last one was breathing room. That one like was also super powerful because I think even though you're saying this stuff, people probably look at UJ and think, okay, the way he's doing that is he's just working super hard, but the strategy can't be just to run faster because that's not going to work. That strategy of running faster is like, can we be more efficient? Let's try and do things quicker and quicker, and like you say, it's going to lead to burnout. But like what you're doing with breathing room is like, they call it effectiveness, is like to really pick the things that you want to do and then just say no. And the other bit that probably people miss is it's hard to say no. It's not easy to really,
especially
like,
something that you really want to do.
Yeah.
Like, I'm having to say no to things that I really want to do. I think it's quite easy when you're letting stuff come in but there's stuff that I've already committed to, and now I'm having to say no. So I'm letting people down. But
to do something great, you have to say no to things that are good.
Yeah.
I think that's a saying.
Change the language to leave the good for the great. Leave the good for the great.
You got to sacrifice good things to do something great.
Yeah.
But it's hard.
All right. Awesome.
I love the way Amit comes in and basically just tells us how amazing that episode is. This episode is amazing because of this and this. Good job, guys.
That is it.